What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the YSN Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you after an unbelievable weekend in Dallas, Texas for the USA Flag Football League. Myself, Sam Torres, Ty Bartell, and Noah Doty all went down to Texas, and we tore it up. That's what we do here at YSN, and that's what we did down there. We're able to put on a show for thousands, and the yoke means thousands of people down in Dallas, Texas, and again, able to promote the great game of flag football. So excited for that. I know a lot of you were able to watch some of the teams from down there from all over the world put on an absolute show, and what a time it was. We've got a ton of stories to bring back to the Valley and to tell you about, but we have a lot to get to here today, because today, on the second half of today's show, we will unveil the 2023 voice of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, and we are excited to do that. Someone that we feel is going to bring a lot to not only the Scrappers organization, but YSN, but of course, you, the Scrappers fans, from sea to shining sea. We'll unveil that here at about 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. But right now, I am super excited and fingers crossed, because we had some technical difficulties leading up to the show, but I'm more than happy, more than excited. This is a dream come true to bring in one of my real good friends, a guy that always had faith in me, and I am so excited to see his dreams come true. A guy that's been through the Valley and has promoted the Valley from, again, the time he was here until this very moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring in to you the voice of the Florida Panthers, the Douglas Plagans. Dougie, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. How are you, DJ?
Oh, better now that I can hear you, dude.
We got the technical situation sorted out. It's live. Anything can happen, obviously, but it's great to be here, and you hit it on the head right there. I'm excited every time I see a new YSN development, and I know everything that's been going on over the course of the years. I'm always keeping an eye on it, and really proud of what you've been able to build there.
Dougie, it has been a long time, man. You have done so much since your brief stint here in Youngstown, obviously with Channel 27 and 33. That's where we met. That's where our paths crossed. Also in the gym a lot, getting swole, as you always say. But tell us what has kind of happened to your career since you left the Valley, and obviously now you're going to be calling a Stanley Cup final with the Florida Panthers.
Well, I guess kind of reverse chronological order. Yeah, we've got the Stanley Cup final coming up, and that's because I'm in my 8th season as the radio play-by-play voice of the Florida Panthers in the National Hockey League. So that's been every bit the thrill and every bit the dream come true that I hoped it would be, to ultimately be a play-by-play announcer in the National Hockey League. That was that was something that I always wanted to do, and it was really a lifelong dream of mine. And to be able to achieve that and do it down here, it's been absolutely outstanding. But going back in time, this is my 8th season here. Before that, I did 4 seasons with the AHL's Lake Erie Monsters. Now they're the Cleveland Monsters, but the Lake Erie Monsters in Cleveland, part of the Cavs organization, and called 4 seasons of Cleveland Gladiators Arena football back then as well. So again, done a little bit of a few different things going back to my time there in the Valley, but met a lot of great people while I was there, worked with a lot of great people, and you were one of those, of course. And I'm glad we've been able to keep in touch. And like I said, I'm really excited every time I see something that you've got going. It's been great to see what you built there. But we're getting ready for the Stanley Cup final, which now we know starts. Well, we've known that it's potentially going to start on Saturday. There were 2 scenarios at first, but Stanley Cup final is going to start Saturday, 8 Eastern, and now we know who the Panthers' opponent is going to be, because last night the Western Conference final wrapped up. So it's going to be a trip out to Vegas to get this series going with the Panthers taking on the Vegas Golden Knights.
If today's Doug Plagans talked to Doug Plagans when he was a boy, and all he dreamt about was calling games, in the NHL, and you got to say, hey, hang in there, you're going to be calling the Stanley Cup final one day, would you believe yourself?
I don't know that I would have or not. I mean, you think like there's only so many of these jobs to go around, and obviously that's what everybody wants to do if they enter this profession, is you hope that you can call the biggest games. And I always say I just hope people enjoy listening as much as we enjoy bringing the broadcast to everybody, because it's it's a thrill every time we get out there. And without the great games, the great players, obviously what these athletes do nowadays, it's just it's unbelievable. The level of skill and talent collectively across the league's never been higher. And it just, when you have great players and great games, it just makes the broadcast that much more special. But yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes you do have to think back and maybe even pinch yourself, remind yourself that it is real life. This is all really happening. And like I said, even just from the perspective of being here, I work with a ton of people that have put a lot into this. And you watch the people on the hockey side put a ton into it. You watch what the players do every single day. And a lot of people have a lot, obviously, invested in this in a number of different ways. And to be able to see the Panthers get to the NHL's biggest stage, it's a true thrill.
So, I mean, at any athlete's career, and obviously we're engaged towards the student athlete, but there's parents out there that get it, and they've had dreams that haven't come true. Maybe it's too late for them, maybe it's not. But you and I both know that there's times that challenge you along the way, right? It really touches your gut and says, do you really want to do this or do you not? What were some of those moments of adversity that you have faced that you thought, maybe this isn't for me, but you stuck it out and you got to ultimately where you're going. And man, you're 4 games away from potentially hoisting up the Stanley Cup trophy.
Well, I try not to get too far ahead of myself because, but obviously that's something that everybody wants to do. Even those of us who aren't playing the games, we long for that opportunity. When you work, I always tell people, when you work for a team, the level of emotional investment that you have goes beyond anything that you could have ever comprehended before. But I think it's just going all the way back, and fortunately I've never had too many crazy moments of doubt or anything like that really coming to mind. I think like you, no matter what you're dealing with, you're obviously going to have certain things that come up along the way, but you're always going to you're always going to know that it's part of a long process. None of this happens overnight. None of your ultimate goals are achieved in one day. But just going back, I mean, my first job, I moved across the country to a place I'd never been to when I was 23 years old. And I realized that's not for everybody. And that can be tough for somebody. You move to a place where you don't know anybody. And you're going to meet people quickly, but you move someplace where you're not familiar with the surroundings. You don't know anybody. Early in your career, you could be living paycheck to paycheck at times. And there are things like, there are just certain things like that come with being early in your journey or early in your career, knowing that when you do move someplace, yeah, you might like it, but you might know that it is going to be a stopping point. Whether it's that location geographically or that role professionally, or maybe both, it could just be a stop off. You might know that you're maybe more there for a good time, but not necessarily for a very, very long time. And you want to make the most of it everywhere that you go. So I think there's little things like that along the way. And I know, like, for me, there are also moments where you're on a bus coming back from who knows where in the middle of the night from a road trip, and you're getting home at 4:00 in the morning, or you're sitting on a bus and it's 3:00 in the morning. But at the same time, you sit there and you think, what, I just got to do what I really want to do earlier this evening. You called a game, you get on the bus and you head out of town with the team. And it might involve getting home at 4:00 in the morning. It might involve not getting much sleep. It might involve having, a life where things aren't necessarily always going to be routine, and you might have to miss certain social functions and things like that because you're traveling, and for 6 months out of the year, your schedule is kind of determined by, what the team does. But at the same time, you remind yourself it's what you always wanted to do. And those are just things that you learn to handle along the way. And it all ends up being well worth it.
All right. So you and I, neither one of us really get starstruck a lot, but there are those moments, right? And you're living it. Was there a time when you got to the NHL where you kind of had that out of body experience? Like, I can't believe this is actually happening to me, but you had to keep your cool.
I'm trying to think, because you start bumping into people who've accomplished a lot, put it that way, pretty quickly. And I know you've seen the same thing. You might just be sharing a press box with somebody that you've admired for a long time, or somebody who's, for lack of a better way to put it, extremely well known, or you might come across, athletes who accomplished a ton, who are in some ways larger than life type of figures. I think the biggest thing for me, and you probably be about the same way, there are people on the air, broadcasters that whose work that you've really admired, whether they're national people, whether they're regional people, voices of other teams, because nowadays through all the different ways to watch and listen to games, we're able to watch and listen to so many out of market games, and we're able to watch so many different national games and things like that, and you meet some of these people, and I can tell you what's been really cool is meeting people that that I grew up listening to. For example, I'm from the Detroit area. So, being able to be doing what I'm doing and bump into the Red Wings broadcasters. For example, Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond on the TV side, and Ken Cal and Paul Woods on the radio side. Those are guys who've been in their roles since the 1990s and earlier. So for me, those are guys whose voices I grew up with. I mean, I was listening to those guys, watching those guys when I was an elementary and middle school student. They're still doing it. And now I'm talking to them, and just, they're just a press box or a booth over in the press box, or a couple of booths over. And when you meet these guys who you've admired for so long, and they're outstanding people, and they sit and chat with you, it's a thrill, but it's also just it's a really cool experience. Guys, for example, some of the national people, I mean, over the years, like I said, I've been doing this 8 years now. So over the years, whether it's regular season games or playoff games, I've gotten to bump into and chat with Kenny Albert a lot. He's just an outstanding guy, and it's really cool when you meet somebody whose work you've admired for so long, doing a bunch of different sports, and then when you get to chat with them in person, you're like, wow, this guy's outstanding on the air, but he's even a nicer guy. It's just those kind of experiences are really cool. And like I said, it's one of those things where you just you're thankful for it, and you're thankful that you get to bump into certain people and pick their brains. And I can say honestly, you go through everybody. The industry is full of very, very nice, very accommodating, very genuine people. It's been really cool.
So it's a little bit different now with this day and age, because you're not just a broadcaster anymore. It feels
Correct.
like you do a little bit more. Well, what other things do you have to do? And I've seen you on Fanatics ads and Fanatics spots and doing stuff. What other things are you doing, Doug, that people don't realize, that you just don't show up and do a broadcast and go home? Your job is a lot more than that. And you are helping yourself, hopefully financially, from a lot of different standpoints with what you can do.
Well, the Fanatic stuff, that's a side gig, and they're outstanding people, and I've gotten to work with a lot of people there, and like I said, they're outstanding people there, and they've given me some opportunities to kind of join my love for sports and broadcasting with memorabilia and sports cards and things like that, and put it all together, and they're they have a lot of what they do local right down here in South Florida, which is cool. So it works out, and that's been a lot of fun. But it is a different world now. You're still the broadcaster for a team. You're still the radio voice of a team. But like you alluded to, it's not like in the 80s and 90s where you're showing up, you're throwing a headset on, you're calling a game ends, you take the headset off and you leave, and nobody hears from you until the next time the game comes on. It's we truly do live in a multimedia world. And obviously, I know that people's consumption habits, as far as what they listen to, what they watch, that has changed over the years, and now people do have a lot of options and a lot of on-demand options and things like that. But live sports are still a big driver for viewing, and they're one of the things that people really do make appointment, or they take them into consideration as far as appointment viewing, appointment listening is concerned. You'll still have people. It's okay, the game's at 7:30. Well, then I'm going to be at my couch. I'm going to have my laptop turned out, whatever you're consuming the game on. I'm going to be logged in at 7:29. So I'm ready at 7:30 when the game starts and I don't miss a minute of it. So you still have that element of it, but you're doing the game. Obviously that's a big part of it, but you've got pre and post game responsibilities. We do, here at the Panthers, we do every game day. We have a quick we call it the 5-minute morning skate. It's basically a quick in podcast form. It's on all of our podcast channels, but it's where you can go to get, a few quotes from players and coaches, the matchup, the nuts and bolts of the matchup, the lines, if we have them for that day, where you can listen, where you can watch, stuff like that. If there's a watch party for the game, it's all listed there. So it's basically your one-stop 5-minute shop for where you can find everything about the game. We've got a weekly show we do here on radio. We've got a weekly podcast we do here as well. Plus it's in a social media world, whatever other content you can contribute, throughout the day. It's truly a 24/7, 365 type thing. You're not just on the air for the 82 games, and then when those are over with, you're done and see you later. So it's truly a multimedia world now, and that's part of the job responsibility. That's the world we live in. But the way I look at it, it's not more things to do. It's more opportunities to promote your product, get it out there, get the message out there, and make people as excited about the products as you are.
Couple more questions with the Valley legend, one of my best friends, Mr. Doug Plagans. I know that you've got other hits and you're taking time for us, so we greatly appreciate it. You talked about consumable content. I've probably consumed that call that you put out there on the way to the Stanley Cup probably 500 times, man. And people who don't know broadcasting or maybe don't dig in as much as we do, that is not only a dream come true, but there are moments in time that you kind of tuck away those calls for. How long have you had that call tucked away? How long did it take you to come up with it? Or did you come with it like on the fly as it was happening? Because you're not one of those guys. You are very superstitious when it comes to that stuff. When and where did you come up with that?
You're talking about for the game winner.
Yes, sir.
I would say first and foremost, I've never scripted a thing that I've used in a play-by-play broadcast. I've never scripted one thing. And that's, some people have certain things that they want to use. Everybody's got their different style. I think that's part of the beauty of doing live sports broadcasts is, you find your style that works, and your style needs to be you. And you can let that reflect in the calls and things like that. But I'm a big believer that it's part of the beauty of sports. Every game, every time you go out to a game, doesn't matter what sport it is, doesn't matter what level it is, doesn't matter where it is. Every time you take in a sporting event, you might see something that you have never seen before. And therefore, we need to let every moment have its uniqueness. And I've always been a big organic guy as far as play-by-play is concerned. I want every moment to have its own feel, have its own uniqueness, because every moment truly is unique. So for me, it's just about being ready for that moment when it comes along. Here in this playoff run, we've had, a good number of overtime games. We've had games we had the 4 overtime game that almost needed a 5th overtime. So we've had truly a little bit of everything throughout this playoff run for the Panthers. And it's been a lot of fun. We had a game 7 overtime. I mean, that's about as crunch time as it gets. That was in round 1 when the Panthers played Boston. To get to overtime of game 7, they had to tie it with a minute left to force the game into overtime. And so you had a big play like that. And they clinched their first round series in overtime. Game 5 against Toronto in the second round, they clinched that series win in overtime on the road. And then the conference final, game 4 the other night, Matthew Tkachuk scored with just over 4 seconds left in regulation time. So it wasn't an overtime game, but it may as well have been, because there wasn't time for Carolina to do anything after that one. So, we've been very fortunate. We've had a little bit of everything. The biggest thing with that game 4 overtime, or the game 4 winner for Matthew Tkachuk that wasn't in overtime, those first 2 series were clinched on the road. And I think that was valuable experience for any team going on a long playoff run to have those big moments on the road. But that game 4 game winner, Matthew Tkachuk scores a shade over 4 seconds left in regulation at home. to be able to share that with our home fans who've been there supporting us so much all season long, that was a huge thrill. And it just set up now. We'll partially set up this conference or Stanley Cup final matchup with that conference final win. So yeah, it's been. I guess that's a long way of saying I try to make every moment as unique and organic as it can be, because I think everything that happens truly is its own moment. That's part of the beauty of sports, is you're going to see something different every time you watch a game.
Dude, what's funny is that I've crossed paths with a lot of anchors and a lot of guys in sports, and I always remember some of the things that you've taught me. Who's been, and this is the last question for you, who's been most influential in your career in getting you to where you are today that you'd love to shout out and just say thank you?
Well, I got to tell you, I work with a ton of people here who've been hugely instrumental for me, whether it's Randy Moeller here at the Panthers, and Steve Goldstein, and my broadcast partner, Billy Lindsay, guys like that who've been involved with the Panthers for a long time, who've been outstanding to me from day one. So, I mean, they've been important. And, going back to my time in Cleveland, a lot of great people that I worked with there at the Cavs. My boss there, the VP of broadcasting at the Cavs, Dave Dombrowski, I still, every single day, I'm employing little things in my day that I learned from Dave. And, he was an unbelievable resource while I was there. But I got to tell you, when I was an intern with the Syracuse Crunch in the American Hockey League in 07-08, the broadcaster for the Syracuse Crunch at the time was Bob McElligott, who is now the radio voice of the Columbus Blue Jackets and has been for over a decade now. But being able to shadow him throughout a whole season, and have him as a reference, and have him as a mentor, and to continue to have him as a friend who I see throughout the season and cross paths with, that's been a huge thrill. And I got to tell, I can't put it this way. I can't, if when it's all said and done, I won't be able to tell the story of my career without mentioning what Bob meant to me early in my career, and the friend that he's been throughout everything. So he's been a huge mentor. And hey, for folks out there in your area, you probably have some people who do root for the Blue Jackets who probably listen to their games on the radio from time to time. And Bob McElligott, he does a great job. He's been there for a long time, and like I said, he was hugely influential to me, especially early in my career.
Dude, I can't thank you enough. You've been an inspiration, one of my good friends along the way. It's been fun to watch you. I root for whoever you're announcing for, all but one time. And when you play the Penguins, that's the only time I don't root for the Panthers. But man, we're so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that Sarah said hi. She was so excited to see that we were connected for the interview today. Thanks for everything. You're a true inspiration, and I hope the people of the Valley are as proud of you as I am, man. Just keep kicking ass.
Well, I'm proud of you every single day. Like I said, I keep track of everything. It just means a ton to me. And like I said, I know when we got to work together, that was a huge thrill too. And I still think back to some of those times that we had. But yes, tell Sarah and everybody I said hello. Means the world to see everything that you guys have accomplished. And again, look forward to talking to you down the road. So thanks again for having me. And hey, thanks to everybody in the Valley for having me during that time I was there.
Dude, go win a freaking cup, huh?
Dude, I'm going to try. It's gonna be really exciting. I hope everybody's tuned in. This is gonna be a heck of a matchup. You've got two very well coached teams, two very deep teams. You've got a lot of star power. You've got a lot of for new hockey fans getting introduced, a lot of American-born star power in this series too. There's going to be, you've got some great goaltending, a lot of things to be excited about with this Stanley Cup final. And every game starts at 8 Eastern, so it's easy in that regard. They're taking the guesswork out of the start times. 8 Eastern, that's when the games are all going to start throughout the Stanley Cup final.
We're proud of you, dude. Go get it. Thanks again for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Doug Plagans. I mean, I could go on and on. We could talk. Literally, we've done this right before. We go and talk for hours and hours and hours. So cutting it into 20, 25 minutes was a serious ordeal for us. So first off, you're welcome for us chipping away at that. But secondly, thanks to Doug, as always, for stopping by and for being who he is. Like, I could tell story after story after story about how things started, how things progressed. But out of everybody that I've worked with, he's a guy that is connected and continually sent messages back to me. I mean, he's the voice of the Florida Panthers, right? So he has other things to do, but he's sending notes back to me, looking at stuff that we do, sending me messages how we can get better along the way. And I am just so excited for him to hopefully root for the Stanley Cups. Hey, if you don't have a team right now, if you're not a Vegas fan, then you should be rooting for the Florida Panthers because there are Youngstown ties to those Panthers. So good luck to the Panthers. And I think he said it starts Saturday. All the games are at 8:00. I will be watching. Most certainly Doug Plagens, one of the best people you will ever meet. And so grateful to have the relationship that spans back over a decade now. And now kind of worlds colliding. So thanks to Doug for the time. We're going to take a break. When we come back, you want some exciting news? You're going to get some exciting news. We have the brand new voice of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers that we will unveil today live right here on the YSN Power Hour, brought to you by our friends at Toyota of Warren. Back after this.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Hi, I want to tell you about my Trish Yearwood home collection available at Sheely's Furniture. With 2 locations serving Ohio and Pennsylvania, Sheely's is one of the country's top sellers of my home collection. And the best part? At Sheely's, you never have to wait for a sale. They offer everyday low pricing as well as a price match guarantee, so you can shop the Trish Yearwood home collection with confidence. Come see my collection with something to offer for every room in your home and get it all with free local delivery, only at Sheely's Furniture.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, back here at the YSN Power Hour, brought to you by our friends at Toyota of Warren. All right, so let's set the stage for this one. This is our 3rd year with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. This will be the 1st year that we will have video for the Scrappers across the board. So we will have it for the home games 100%. And we, with the departure of Richie Giuliano, will and do need a new voice for the Scrappers. On May 24th, we put out an open invitation for everybody to come out. We had unbelievable tryouts, such elite talent to come in because everybody loves this Scrappers team, from Mahoning County to Trumbull and Columbiana and Portage and all across the board. The Mahoning Valley Scrappers have and do always represent who we are. We are a scrappy bunch of people. So Heather and I were looking for kind of a representative rather, of that and of YSN and of course of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. I told you that we were going to have great tryouts, and we absolutely did. And for the first time ever, we were able to hand pick the voice of the Scrappers for the 2023 season. And we're happy to make that announcement right here on the YSN Power Hour. And someone that you're probably going to recognize for many other reasons, but I'm so proud of this young man, of how he's kind of risen above like a phoenix into the ranks here at YSN. And now he has a chance to, like Doug Plagans, who we just talked to, has a chance to have his voice heard across the country in a major league draft league setting. And I'm trying not to get emotional because here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the brand new voice of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, Mr. Ty Bartell. Ty, how are you, dude?
Oh, I'm doing great, DJ. I mean, the sunburn's it's starting to turn into a little bit of a tan. So if I could even it up from this Dallas trip, we'll be sitting pretty.
Yeah, man, we were on the trip to Dallas. Heather and I had spoken very quickly after the tryouts, and your audition, which is funny, is you shouldn't need to audition because you've got like 1,000 games in the books here at YSN over your tenure. But you thought it was very important not only to audition, but you had a game earlier that day that showcased a lot of things to Heather, showcased a lot of things to myself. The dedication standpoint, Ty, that you bring to the table really stood out. Why was it that you decided, hey, I want to be the next voice of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers?
I think there's a lot of reasons that went into it. One of them being first and foremost is just the challenge aspect. I'm always one that I want to continue to challenge myself because I think it goes into getting better, not only as an announcer, but as a person overall as well, and making connections and just talking with people, talking about sports, talking about the game in general. So I saw it as a challenge, number one. And number two, I think it's an opportunity to push this industry, YSN, Mahoning Valley, push this forward. You mentioned the aspect of video now being added to it, and I think that's going to be huge. And I take it back to when I was a kid too, and how big and how much the Mahoning Valley Scrappers meant to me, and when I would go with my family to games too, and sitting on first base side of things, first base, right behind the first base dugout, talk with some of the Scrappers players and stuff like that. I mean, I remember that as a kid, and now being able to showcase that to everyone who can't be in attendance and continue pushing not only YSN, not only the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, but the entire Mahoning Valley out to the world, like you said, now is something I'm very excited for, to be able to have that opportunity to try to push this thing forward.
What I love, Ty, and we've had many conversations about this, is you started out as a broadcaster and you tried to be somebody, right? You tried to be a different broadcaster than you were. You have really developed your own style of broadcasting. You've gone from being at a level 10 the entire time for 3 hours during a football game or 2 hours during a basketball game, to being able to find those moments and those ebbs and flows during the game, and the excitement level that you can bring is unlike anybody else that is on not only our roster, but any roster that I've seen across the states or the tri-state area. How much went into learning your craft and understanding that you've got to be able to control those emotions and narrate the story, so that way when those exciting moments hit, you take it and shake it better than anybody else?
Yeah, no doubt. And when I first started out too, and it's because I'm such an emotional person as a whole anyway too. Like when I make a connection with somebody too, I'm rooting for them, and you could kind of see I'm rooting for them for the full 48 minutes of a football game too during my earlier years. But when you talk about just the things you learn too, and I mean, getting a chance to work with so many broadcasters, getting a chance to just talk with so many people that have worked in the broadcasting field, it really is a game of just taking little bits of people that are above you that you can learn from, and then kind of making it your own style too, putting all those bits into one pot and making it your own soup, right? So you talk about just learning things from guys like the Richie Giulianos of the world, from guys like yourself, the Steve Leslies, the Mike Ackelson, some just great names that I've gotten a chance to broadcast with, pick the brain with a little bit too, that give you those little pointers of how you should, try to build up a moment too, from you talked about the ebbs and flows, to just how you can elevate a team more, how you can elevate kids more as well. And those talks go a long way. And I'm constantly learning from everyone I get a chance to work with, whether that's things that are good or maybe sometimes things that aren't that good, but I'm constantly just trying to learn and add that to my style too, while trying to still keep it kind of my style.
For people that are looking at you this year and saying, okay, well, that's not Richie's style, right? What can they expect? What kind of things and twists and turns do you have up your sleeve for this year's Scrappers, and the way that you can bring that excitement to the Valley in the 25th year of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers?
And no doubt it's going to be a challenge trying to get into the shoes that Richie Giuliano set for the Scrappers, because, I mean, there's no doubt Richie, Class A YSN guy, Class A broadcaster all the way around for the Youngstown area and surrounding, and he had some huge shoes that he put in place over at Mahoning Valley, and he did a great job of pushing the Scrappers forward and elevating them to listeners around the entire area and beyond. I'm just one of those guys that I build a connection with teams, and that's kind of what I've done with Day One, right? I mean, the Austintown Fitches of the world, the Archbishop Hobans of the world, the Waterloo Vikings of the world, right? I get on a team and I instantly just try to build those connections with the players, with the managers, with the coaching staffs, and because of that, I'm able to have that, I feel, excitement and that passion for them, and it comes across a lot more natural. There's nothing that's fake or being mustered up as fake excitement with me. And I hope at least that I do a good enough job that we're able to keep pushing this thing forward. We're able to put this thing on a map too, and we're able to showcase exactly what Mahoning Valley and the Scrappers are all about.
So I'm real interested from a standpoint. We talked to Doug Plagans before you. I don't know if you were able to catch any of that interview, but we talked about the multimedia process of it. It's not just throwing a headset on anymore. And from working with us prior that there are expectations, right? In the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, one of the big things that Heather loves about you particularly is that you've dealt with multimedia. You've dealt with cutting stuff. You've dealt with doing interviews and things of that nature. What things can Scrappers fans really look forward to this year with some of the extra content that they'll be able to have, not only on YSN, but through the Mahoning Valley Scrappers?
It just goes back to the standard I've always kind of set for myself, right? You want the post-game interviews, coaches and players, stuff like that, being able to talk and get that live raw reaction too after big wins, or after, some guy had a great day at the plate or a great day on the mound. We now can have those live raw reactions too that are posted usually minutes right after they occur too, and usually same day on that as well. And you can also expect seeing articles after the game if you kind of want something a little bit more bunched up too, kind of just a rundown of what happened too. We can expect to see those articles flowing on the site as well. So I'm excited to be able to add that. And I mean, of course, when we have highlights to that, I'm excited to be able to push that as well, to showcase, again, what Mahoning Valley and the Scrappers are all about and why you should be tuning in.
What kind of things are you most excited for? I know that this is a dream come true for you. Not that you don't absolutely put every high school game and every amateur game on a pedestal, on a platform, because you have since day one. But to be able to have an opportunity to announce in the MLB Draft League, where there's going to be so much talent, there already has been, and to be able to be one of 6 voices. Doug Plagans just talked about it. I mean, he said that everybody wants a shot at this. You get this shot at such a young age. What does it mean to you? And do you look back at your career and go, man, how did I get here?
Every once in a while you kind of ponder and you look back and wonder what were the correct steps, because there's not a map or a path laid out for you of like, this is what you want to, or this is what you need to do to accomplish a dream. I mean, I'm kind of just, trying to lay out the stones, lay out the staircase ahead of me as it comes to. And this is a huge step for me personally in my career, to be able to have this opportunity to see this type of talent too, and to take on this kind of challenge of, it's a little bit more difficult to broadcast at this level too. You got to know your stuff. You got to be a little bit more sharper on stuff. So, it goes back to just that challenge of dedicating yourself, putting yourself all in on a team again. And now I get a chance to do that at a little bit higher of a level. And I'm just excited, got the chance to roll the dice on myself. And with the work I was able to do over the last few years in high school sports and with YSN, to be able to have this opportunity, to be able to be comfortable in my abilities and my skill set, to be able to go out for this opportunity and to be able to achieve it. I'm nothing short of excited, and just I can't wait for the season to start so we can get this train rolling and see what we can do with this year.
What do you think if you were to go back and talk to Ty Bartell from 5 years ago, from when you first started? What things would you tell him not to work on, but to expect over that 5 years, with knowing now what you know, and obviously some of the gigs that you've been able to get through YSN?
It's not going to be easy, but it's all going to be worth it. I mean, to sum it all up, if I had a sentence to say to old Ty Bartell, I mean, it's not going to be easy, but it's absolutely going to be worth it. And what Doug Plagans was just talking about at the major level, it starts to when you get in this business, and it only increases in the sacrifice you need to make on a personal level, on a professional level, time basis. It's always the sacrifice you're willing to make, but it goes back to how much do you want it? How much do you really love this business and being able to do this? And I would just go back and tell my old self that, because, you know, when you first get into this, when you're younger, you don't know what to expect. You don't know how much you're going to have to continue to sacrifice to continue moving yourself up the ranks, continue getting better, continue developing yourself as an announcer, but also as just a person that can go out there and make those connections, talk with people, and be able to have that wide circle of people that you can kind of go to, pick the brains of. You got to kind of learn those things too. And sometimes you'll learn them the hard way, but it's absolutely worth it. I was just telling my wife too. I mean, you look at what I've been able to do in January, and I think I joked with you too when I said in January about just the work I've put in, but I said I'm going to make this my year because it's the year of the rabbit, Chinese year, right? It's my year. It's supposed to be my year. I mean, February had the chance to go out to Vegas with you guys. March, I've gone down to Dayton with the Archbishop Hoban Knights for basketball. April, I went down to Myrtle Beach and got a chance to do area softball and baseball. And in May, we went down to Dallas and again did our thing with the flag football. So, I mean, just the opportunities that have come my way, it's absolutely been worth all the work, all the blood, sweat, tears, everything that goes into it, right? It's absolutely been worth it. And it's going to continue to be worth it because June, the next, I guess, stone I can add into my Thanos Infinity Gauntlet is Mahoning Valley Scrappers starts too. So that's the next opportunity. Excited for it, and excited, again, just to see what we can do with it.
All right, so I'll give one more question, and then we'll do a little quick recap of Dallas while we're at it.
Yeah, no doubt.
That'll be fun. Dude, so you and I both know that nobody gets anywhere alone, and there's been a lot of people in your corner that have helped you get to where you are going. And I don't even want to say where you want to go because it's where you're going. You just listed off, 5 months there that you're able to continue to turn those stones over, which I love. I didn't even put the 2 and 2 together at that. Who are those people that you need to shout out because they've told you, hey, hang in there, be there. They've been tough on you. They've been that person that has been your shoulder to cry on kind of people. I mean, we need them all, right? Who have been those people? Because as a broadcaster, you never get to shout those people out. You're always on the other side of that microphone. You're never on this side where people are asking you questions. Who are those people that you could not have gotten here without?
Well, I would go. All right, so I would have to go 5, and I'll make them as quick as possible too.
Take your time.
5 immediately come to mind. Obviously the wife too. I mean, no bigger support than my wife Ashley too. That's always been there. All those hard times, all those easy times, always the first person I tell after games, whether it's good or bad. She's always been there. So no doubt I want to shout out her. To my dad too. I mean, again, a guy that's, I don't know how many broadcasts of mine that he's actually missed, but I don't think there's been many. So he's always been there to support, and he's always been there to watch. Richie Giuliano too, just because of all the times I got a chance to just talk with him and just be able to pick his brain, bounce ideas off of each other too. He's always been a great broadcaster in this field. 2 more too. Anthony Hartwig. If you don't know anything about Running Point too, there was a lot of this with me and Anthony Hartwig behind the scenes, but we always made each other better, no doubt. And he's always been a guy I can go to. I could talk with, and I can always kind of bounce ideas off of as well too. And he would always kind of give it to me straight. And of course, you, big dog, too. I can't go without shouting out you too. I mean, you want to talk about someone that's able to kind of click the pressure up on me every once in a while too, but it's always needed. And you've always pushed me to absolutely be the best version of myself too. So I have to go. I can't go, I should say, without shouting out you, big dog.
Man, I wasn't looking for that. I wanted to make sure Ashley got her credit. That's all I was going
no
for.
doubt.
And big Mr. Bartell, the bear. We're so proud of you, man. I couldn't be more proud. I was you were the first person I saw when I walked in the stadium, and you didn't have to be there, and that meant a lot. And obviously, you deserve. There's a lot of people that tried out that deserve this, but I will tell you, man, you have busted your tail to get here, and we've had moments where there's been some gut checks, and I know it hasn't been easy for you, but this, my friend, is well deserved. I wish I had more things to give to guys like you and people like you, because you've absolutely killed it at every turn. And you've taken the comeuppance, as they say, and you've done it with a smile on your face, and you've always been engaged, and it's always what else can I do? What else can I do? So very well deserved. So you and I took a little trip over the weekend across the country. And obviously, anytime you travel with yours truly, there's a little bit of drama and things that happen.
I don't know how it always happens to you too. I don't know how you make this stuff always happen like out of the blue.
We go to Las Vegas. The town's on fire. It's ridiculous. But I mean, we were there, and the idea for us was to put these men, women, and kids in a position that they can continue to promote the game of flag football. And I think we did an excellent job. I'm going to pat ourselves on the back on that one. But for you, it was your second trip with flag football. And what are some of the main differences that you see that this sport is becoming one of the fastest growing sports in the entire world, not just the country?
It's tremendous feats of athleticism that you're seeing from men, women, boys, and girls too, honestly. And you're seeing it without the pads, which I think kind of make it a little bit more interesting, because you're kind of seeing that raw speed, the raw talent, how quick some of these guys and gals can make these cuts on these jukes and running these routes, how crisp they are in running them without the extra gear added on. I love the fact that it's able to engage other people too, and kind of, it could be that first stepping stone into actual football, or it could be one of those things where people get into it and it's its own thing. But I definitely think it's good for the sport of football too, to kind of promote the sport a little bit more, and to give people a different kind of look too, and some people opportunities in the sport that maybe didn't have them at a certain age, or because of the females too, being able to a chance for a lot of these girls too to get a chance at flag football at a young age.
Does it ever get old for you? I mean, because you've done a lot of these, and some of these schools that, especially since you're not located in any of the Tri-County, you're kind of out in Portage County. Does it ever get old for you reintroducing YSN? Because we're down there and people are asking, who the hell is YSN? Why are you guys here? And you're so good. Like, you have that 30-second snap that you can say, hey, go here, go here, go here, do this, do this, do this, and bam. Next thing you know, YSN's growing. We could be talking about YSN Texas. You and I have had that conversation. Does it ever get old for you pushing that brand and pushing what we do on an everyday basis?
No, because I feel like the brand and I kind of identify as one, right? I've been so involved with YSN in the broadcasting field and doing so much, trying to promote it through broadcast, and even when I'm off broadcast, because YSN's done so much for me. So I mean, it's always kind of just second nature to me when people ask about it, just to kind of show them, because again, it's so easy, and it's kind of just how we've been brought up to do things around here, right? I mean, to just always try to promote that brand and get us to that next step, because the thing is, even though there's so many announcers and I know that it's a competitive field, we're all kind of batting for the same team, and we're all trying to push this thing forward together. So that's the biggest thing, is if this grows, we all grow too. So I think it's a huge to get just the name out there, to be able to help people out too that have never seen this kind of thing, to show what we do, because I believe we're one of the only ones that do what we do.
All right, last story or last question for you. What is your favorite story from the last 4 days that the world can consume without getting too deep in the weeds?
I mean, any of the times we had battling that stupid pull star too. I mean, you want to talk about having an electric vehicle in the middle of Texas too. You really feel like you're standing out with that. I mean, just trying to find any kind of charging station that would work. And I mean, we were all tired that one night. We were all getting grumpy with each other too. Couldn't find these charging stations. I think we went to about 3 or 4 of them. Some didn't work. Some were going to take 6-7 hours. Some were just downright closed. But at the end of the day, a lot of funny stories that came from trying to find that supercharger that we never did find that night too. We had to postpone it to the next day. But definitely a night we all look back and laugh about now too. A lot of funny moments that came from it.
Hopefully Wendell Spindle can put us a nice review for that.
If anybody is not listening to Noah Doty broadcast, you absolutely need to. This kid is, the dude's an absolute character and a half. You absolutely need to get out there and listen to some Noah Doty broadcast.
Wendell what was the other one? It was Jim.
Oh, quailfish. Nope. And I don't think anybody has ever done Script Niles as much justice as Noah Doty has done. Like, Script Niles is the biggest event on YSN Network. When
just look up Script Niles on YouTube, you'll see what we're talking about. Ty, congratulations again, man. I know we got a chance to toast down there in Dallas, and we're proud of you. We're all looking forward to what you're going to do with the Scrappers. And seriously, man, nobody deserves this more than you do. So go do it justice and naturally just keep doing what you're doing. And we're so proud that you're part of our family.
No doubt, DJ. Look to make all you guys proud and continue to make us proud. Let's go Scrappers.
Go enjoy the rest of your day, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. There he goes, Ty Bartell. Again, congratulations to him for being the brand new voice of the 2023 Mahoning Valley Scrappers. Again, I can't reiterate enough how good the talent pool was to pick from. And it was a tough decision. It was a very tough decision. And I know Heather and I were going back and forth on what we wanted from this position, what we wanted for the future of the Scrappers and YSN in this position. And there were many, right? There were many that really stuck out in different categories, but Ty stuck out in every category. Every single category. And I can't, this isn't because he works at YSN. This isn't because, this is because the kid busted his ass. This is because the kid went above and beyond at every single level that he's ever worked. And believe it or not, there are still employers that want that, and I wish I could have taken several different announcers and put them into that booth, but we were given one. And Heather, she was given one, and that was the one that didn't check the boxes. He starred the boxes. That was a above average, above excellent situation. And again, like, I feel awful having to make so many, of those phone calls saying, thank you, but we're going a different route, because as if you've ever been in a position of that, those aren't tough, or those aren't easy phone calls. Those are very challenging phone calls. But the one thing that I kept getting back throughout those were people saying, okay, but if anything opens up, I love it. And that speaks to the Scrappers, and it speaks to it speaks to YSN. And hopefully that passion continues to drive these people towards positions at YSN, whether it be amateur, high school, flag football, any level. So that way, when these positions become open, they're ready to go. They're ready. Day one, popped in, and those opportunities will certainly they will flourish. So what a show. It sounds like tomorrow morning I will be on the 440 Sports Show with Sam Torres, and I'm without a doubt we will be recapping the Dallas trip, so I'm sure that'll be fun. It is summertime, and we are making our plans naturally for the rest of the summer and going into next fall, which You know what that means: football, soccer, things of that nature. We'll talk about that. We will also, obviously, I'm assuming we will also talk about flag football. Sam put on a show. We didn't get to mention Sam enough. My guy put on an absolute clinic down there in how to broadcast flag football with excitement. And as he always does, anytime that guy turns the mic on and it goes red, my dude is on fire. Just absolute excitement. I had people telling us, whatever you're paying those guys, pay them double, because that is what they're worth. And certainly they are right. They were amazing and excitable, and naturally in a sport that is so fast and so furious. Those guys stood out amongst the rest. So excited to talk to Sam tomorrow. You'll have tuned in 440 Sports Show. If you've never tuned in before, 8 o'clock in the morning, bright and early, we'll get your eggs and coffee, and we'll have all that stuff with you. We will have a Joe Dickey What's Your Spark right now, because it's sponsored and we need to pay the bills. Here we go. The Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by our friends over at Joe Dickey Electric. Anything commercial, residential, industrial, anything that goes zap, I need you to head over to DickeyElectric.com and tell my boy Eric that YSN sent you. All right, so a lot of travel, right? A lot of stuff going on this weekend. But the one thing that I can tell you is no matter what, and in travel especially, when it comes to being able to adjust, right? Being able to kind of change the way that, you are, and nothing humbles you like trying to have plans, right? We planned on leaving Canton Airport to go to Charlotte, to go to Dallas, and we get to the Canton Airport and they say the plan's going to be late, very late. And so they said, hey, we can get you a flight in Cleveland. So we can go from East Palestine to Canton to Cleveland, where we eventually take off on a direct flight down to Dallas. And then, we get, as Ty referenced, we get the Polestar 2, which go ahead and look that up, because that's what we were driving around Dallas. An electrical vehicle for 4 guys that have never had an electrical vehicle. It's nowhere near as easy as they talk about on television. It's not as easy as the media will tell you. There are just single charging stations around the area. And this is Dallas, Texas. This isn't like East Palestine, Ohio, right? You'd be SOL if you were in East Palestine and you were on a 20% charge, because you wouldn't be, unless you have one in your home, you wouldn't be able to charge it up. So we were kind of facing that a lot, and not all chargers are meant for all vehicles and makes and models. So that was a little bit more of a challenge. And then we get to the hotel, and the hotel says, yeah, you paid Priceline, but they didn't pay us. So there was 6.5 hours there. So all of this we'll probably talk about tomorrow. But I guess what I'm telling you on the Spark is, you got to be flexible. You got to be able to adjust, because if you're not able to adjust in this ever-changing world, you are just going to be stuck in the mud. And that's the best advice I can give you, is be able to ad-lib, be able to be flexible, be able to be accommodating, even though it's not your most ideal situation. You never know, as we talked about today with Doug and Ty, you never know what plans somebody else has for you and why those plans are changing. They're picking you up from here and they're putting you back on the path that you're supposed to have. And I believe that the good Lord has a plan for us all. And I hope that he has the best laid plans for you. That's going to do it for our show today. Tune in to, we have tonight, by the way, tonight at Coca's Pizza, we will have in Canfield, we will have the Canfield softball team along with Mike Kernan, the head coach. We'll be talking to them similar to the shows that you saw in the fall. We will be heading up one of those tonight for the Canfield Lady Cardinals, tomorrow for the Austintown Fitch Falcons. Ty will be leading that. And of course, tomorrow as well at Legends with the South Range Raiders. The Austintown Fitch one, by the way, brought to you by Sam's Wedge Inn, Canfield, Coca's Pizza, and South Range is Legends in Boardman. You need to get out there. You need to get out there. All the shows start at 7 p.m. on YSN. And if you can't watch it, you need to be there and just say congratulations and good luck to these young ladies. 3 different teams heading to the state semifinals this week on the network. We will have audio calls of them all because of the restrictions in video. That's what we're able to bring, but we will bring that to you absolutely free here on the network. So hopefully you're able to take into account and appreciate what we're able to bring back to you. We will bring all the excitement. Most certainly. Ty will have the Austin Tom Fitch Falcons. Anthony will be the play-by-play voice for the Canfield Cardinals, and I will have the South Range Raiders, and you'll see some integration of all three of us at some point during those calls. So thanks to everybody for tuning in for another great show here on the YSN Power Hour, brought to you by Toyota of Warren. We will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. right here on the YSN Power Hour. God bless you. We'll see you then.